Have you ever noticed how a single look can sometimes feel more powerful than an entire conversation? You can meet someone's eyes for only a few seconds, and suddenly you become more aware of everything. Your expression, your body language, even the way you're speaking. But why does eye contact have such a powerful effect on the human mind? Psychologists have been fascinated by this question for more than a century. Carl Jung, one of the most influential figures in analytical psychology, believed that human behavior was often influenced by parts of the mind we don't consciously understand. And this idea gives us an interesting way to think about eye contact. Because when someone looks directly into your eyes, you aren't only seeing their face, you're also reacting to what that person represents to you. Confidence, threat, attraction, trust, judgment, or even familiarity. The eyes become a kind of psychological doorway. They force your attention toward another person, and your brain immediately begins asking questions. Can I trust this person? Are they comfortable around me? Are they interested in what I'm saying? Should I feel safe? These questions often happen so quickly that you don't consciously notice them. That's what makes eye contact fascinating. It can influence your emotions before you have time to logically explain why you feel a certain way. Researchers studying social interaction have also found that eye contact plays an important role in attention and communication. When someone looks at you while you're speaking, it can create the feeling that your words actually matter. You feel noticed, you feel heard, and that can strengthen the connection between two people. But there is another side to it. Too little eye contact can make someone appear distracted, uncomfortable, or disconnected. Too much can feel aggressive or intimidating. So the power isn't simply in looking, it's in the balance. And this is where psychology becomes even more interesting, because your eyes don't communicate only what you're thinking. They can also influence what another person thinks about you. A calm gaze can make you appear confident. A constantly shifting gaze can make you appear nervous. A warm expression can make eye contact feel safe, and a cold expression can make the exact same amount of eye contact feel uncomfortable. The eyes may be the same, but the emotion behind them changes everything. And once you understand that, you begin to realize that eye contact isn't just a physical behavior, it's a form of silent communication. And the deeper we look into the psychology behind it, the more surprising it becomes. But the story doesn't end with attention. One of the most fascinating effects of eye contact is what it can do to our perception of another person. When someone holds your gaze, your brain doesn't simply register their eyes. It starts building a picture of who that person might be. Are they confident? Are they trustworthy? Are they hiding something? Sometimes, your brain makes these judgments before you even realize you're making them. This is one reason eye contact can feel so intense. You're not just looking at another person, you're trying to understand them. Carl Jung's ideas about the unconscious mind give us another interesting perspective. Jung believed that people could project parts of their own inner world onto other people. Sometimes, what we see in someone else is influenced by what already exists inside us. That means the same look can create completely different feelings in two different people. One person might see confidence, another might see arrogance. One might feel attraction, another might feel uncomfortable. The eyes didn't change, the interpretation did. Think about the last time someone looked at you in a way you couldn't explain. Maybe they simply held eye contact for a few seconds, but afterward, you kept thinking about it. Why? Because your brain dislikes unanswered social signals. It wants to understand what happened, so it starts replaying the moment. You remember their expression, their posture, the exact way they looked at you. Then your imagination begins filling in the gaps. Maybe they were interested, maybe they were judging you, maybe they were simply paying attention. But until you know the answer, your brain keeps searching. This is why a short moment of eye contact can stay in your memory longer than an ordinary conversation. It creates uncertainty, and uncertainty creates attention. Eye contact can also affect social connection and emotional awareness. When two people look at each other while speaking, they become more aware of each other's reactions. You speak, they look at you, you notice their reaction, and naturally adjust what you say next. No words are required. The eyes are already participating. But why does eye contact sometimes make people nervous? Part of the answer is self-awareness. When another person looks directly at you, you become more conscious that you're being observed. Suddenly, you may notice your face, your posture, your voice, or even your emotions. That's why eye contact feels different depending on the situation. With a close friend, it can feel comfortable. With a stranger, it can feel uncertain. With someone you're attracted to, it can feel intense. And with someone you don't trust, it can feel threatening. The physical action is almost identical, but the emotional meaning changes everything. And that is what makes eye contact so fascinating. Because the eyes don't simply show us another person. Sometimes, they make us more aware of ourselves, but there's something even deeper happening. Eye contact doesn't only affect how we see another person, it can also change the way we see ourselves. When someone looks directly into your eyes, your brain becomes more aware that you are being observed. Suddenly, you may become conscious of your expression, your posture, your voice, even the way you're standing. This is one reason people sometimes look away when they feel nervous. They may simply be trying to reduce that feeling of being watched. Imagine standing in front of someone you deeply respect, or someone you're attracted to, or someone whose opinion matters to you. A few seconds of eye contact can suddenly feel much longer. Your attention becomes focused on that person, but at the same time, you become more aware of yourself. Psychologists have studied the relationship between attention and self-awareness, and it helps explain why eye contact can feel so powerful. But there's another fascinating idea: social presence. When someone looks directly at you, their presence feels stronger. Your brain gives them more of your attention. Their facial expression becomes more important. Their reactions become easier to notice. This is one reason eye contact can make conversations feel more personal. You aren't simply exchanging words. You're constantly receiving silent feedback, a slight smile, a raised eyebrow, a change in expression. The eyes help you notice all of it, and sometimes you understand the emotion before the person even says anything. This is where Carl Jung's ideas about the unconscious become especially interesting. Jung believed that much of human behavior happens outside conscious awareness. We don't always know why we react strongly to someone. We simply feel something. Maybe a person seems familiar, even though you've never met them. Maybe their expression makes you uncomfortable. Maybe their eyes immediately make you trust them. You may not be able to explain the reaction, but your mind is already processing information. Their face, their movement, their gaze. All of these details can influence your emotional response, and sometimes your conscious mind catches up later. You might think, something about that person felt different, but what you felt may have started long before you could put it into words. This doesn't mean our first impression is always correct. We can misread people very easily. Someone who avoids eye contact isn't automatically dishonest. Someone who maintains strong eye contact isn't automatically confident. Context matters, personality matters, culture matters, and the situation matters. That's why psychology isn't about finding one rule. It's about understanding patterns. And eye contact is one of the most complicated patterns in human communication, because a single look can reveal attention, create emotion, trigger self-awareness, and sometimes make two strangers feel connected without saying a word. But there's another side of eye contact that most people rarely think about. It can influence how powerful, confident, or trustworthy someone appears. When a person speaks while maintaining calm eye contact, we often pay more attention to them. Their words can feel more important. Their presence can feel stronger. And sometimes, we remember the person more clearly afterward. But confidence isn't about staring. In fact, forcing eye contact can have the opposite effect. When someone looks too intensely without natural breaks, it can feel uncomfortable or even threatening. The difference is subtle. but your brain notices it. Natural eye contact moves. It appears, breaks, and returns. That rhythm makes an interaction feel human. Researchers studying social behavior have found that people constantly adjust their gaze depending on what is happening during a conversation. We look when we want to connect. We look away when we need to think. And we often return our gaze when we're ready to continue. So looking away isn't always a sign of weakness. Sometimes it's simply how the brain manages attention. This is important because people often make quick assumptions about eye contact. They think someone who looks away must be nervous, or someone who looks directly into their eyes must be confident. But psychology is rarely that simple. Carl Jung's work reminds us that human behavior can have deeper causes than what appears on the surface. A person's gaze may be influenced by personality, past experiences, emotions, or the meaning they attach to the situation. And this is where our own interpretation becomes important. Imagine two people looking at you. One makes you feel safe. The other makes you feel uncomfortable. Their eye contact might be almost identical, yet your emotional reaction is completely different. Why? Because your brain isn't only analyzing the eyes. It's analyzing the entire person, their facial expression, their tone of voice, their body language, the situation, and your previous experiences. All of these signals are combined within seconds. That's why eye contact can sometimes create a feeling that is difficult to explain. You may say, "I don't know why, but something about their look felt different." Your conscious mind may not have a clear answer, but your brain has already collected hundreds of small signals. And this brings us to one of the most interesting facts about human connection. Sometimes, the strongest communication happens without words. A person can look at you, pause, and communicate curiosity, confidence, fear, attraction, or even distrust. No sentence is necessary. The message can exist entirely in the interaction. And once you understand this, you start noticing eye contact differently. You stop seeing it as simply looking into someone's eyes. You begin seeing it as a psychological exchange, one where two minds are constantly reading, interpreting, and responding to each other. And perhaps this is the most important thing to understand about eye contact. Its power doesn't come from simply looking at someone. It comes from what happens inside the mind when two people realize, "I see you, and you see me." That moment creates awareness. Your attention becomes focused. Your brain begins reading the other person's face, expression, and emotion, and without realizing it, you begin responding. Carl Jung spent much of his work exploring the hidden parts of the human mind, and his ideas remind us that not everything we experience can be explained immediately by conscious thought. Sometimes, we feel something before we understand it. A certain look can make us comfortable. Another can make us suspicious. One person's eyes can feel warm, while another person's gaze can feel strangely familiar. But we shouldn't assume that every feeling is an accurate judgment. Our own experiences can influence what we see. We can project our fears, our expectations, and even our desires onto another person. That's why understanding eye contact isn't about learning a trick to control people. It's about becoming more aware of human behavior. When you speak to someone, look at them naturally. When you listen, let your attention show. And when the moment becomes too intense, it's perfectly normal to look away. Real confidence doesn't require staring. It requires being comfortable enough to stay present. And there's something else worth remembering. You don't need perfect eye contact to make a strong impression. Sometimes, a brief look at the right moment says more than constantly staring. A calm expression, a small pause, and genuine attention can make another person feel noticed. That's why authentic eye contact feels different from forced eye contact. One comes from trying to create an effect. The other comes from actually being present, and people can often sense that difference. Because the goal isn't to make someone feel watched. The goal is to make them feel understood. Because the most powerful eye contact isn't forced. It's natural, it's calm, and it communicates something simple without saying a single word, I'm here. And perhaps that's why a single look can sometimes stay in your mind. Long after the conversation is over,